46 men have held the most powerful job on Earth. Some of them saved it, some of them nearly destroyed it. And at least 2 of them, according to the historians who have spent their entire careers studying this question, were so catastrophically bad that the United States has still not fully recovered from what they did. Every 4 years, Americans argue about who the greatest president was: Washington, Lincoln, FDR. But historians, the people who actually read the diaries, the classified cables, the private letters written at 2 a.m. when no one was watching, they have a very different answer, and their verdict on the worst presidents will genuinely shock you. We surveyed the results of every major presidential ranking study conducted since 1948, including the 2021 American Political Science Association poll of 526 presidential scholars. And what emerged is a list that will make you question everything you were taught in school. This is the historian's verdict, and it pulls no punches. It is 1857. You're standing in Washington, D.C. on the morning of March 4th, and the man being sworn in as the 15th President of the United States, James Buchanan, already knows that 7 southern states are preparing to leave the Union. He knows it. His own cabinet members are telling him. And his response, preserved in his own handwriting in the National Archives, is essentially, "That is not my problem." Historians rank Buchanan dead last, not second to last, not bottom 5, last. Of all 46 presidents, in virtually every survey conducted over 75 years, James Buchanan sits alone at the bottom of American history, like a stone nobody wants to turn over. Here is why. Buchanan spent his entire 4-year term, 1,457 days, actively refusing to prevent the Civil War, while actively enabling the conditions that made it inevitable. He stacked his cabinet with pro-slavery Southerners. He pressured Supreme Court justices to expand the Dred Scott decision. He told Congress he had no constitutional authority to stop secession, then watched 7 states walk out the door and handed the smoldering wreckage to Abraham Lincoln on March 4, 1861. Lincoln inherited a country that was already on fire. Just below Buchanan sits Andrew Johnson, and if anything, Johnson's failure is more infuriating because he had more to work with. Johnson became president on April 15, 1865, the morning Lincoln died from John Wilkes Booth's bullet. He inherited the most morally clear mandate in American presidential history: rebuild the South, integrate 4 million formerly enslaved people as full citizens, and finish what Lincoln started. He did the opposite. Johnson vetoed the Civil Rights Act of 1866. He vetoed the Reconstruction Act. He pardoned Confederate generals personally, shaking their hands in the White House, while black veterans who had fought for the Union could not vote in the states those generals had just tried to destroy. Congress impeached him in 1868. He survived by a single Senate vote. The period historians called the betrayal of Reconstruction, the systematic rollback of black civil rights between 1865 and 1877, begins with Andrew Johnson's desk. The consequences of those decisions echoed for 100 years through Jim Crow laws, segregation, and disenfranchisement. 1 Senate vote, 1, and American history turns on it. Franklin Pierce and Warren G. Harding round out the bottom tier. Pierce, ranked 41st, signed the Kansas-Nebraska Act in 1854, which reopened the slavery debate that had been settled for 30 years and directly ignited the chain of events leading to the Civil War. Harding, ranked 40th, presided over the Teapot Dome scandal, the most corrupt administration in American history until Watergate, while personally running a secret affair from a White House coat closet. That last detail is confirmed by DNA evidence in 2015. The middle tier of American presidents is where history gets genuinely complicated. These are the men who did real things, some of them extraordinary things, and also made decisions that historians cannot forgive. Lyndon B. Johnson sits in the middle of almost every ranking, and no other president better illustrates why this list is so hard to make. Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, the most significant expansion of American civil rights since the 13th Amendment. He built Medicare and Medicaid. He declared war on poverty, and meant it. He also escalated Vietnam. 58,220 Americans died in Vietnam. An estimated 2 million Vietnamese civilians died. Johnson knew by 1967 private recordings of his own phone calls declassified in the 1990s prove he knew that the war was unwinnable. He kept sending men anyway because he was afraid of looking weak. Greatness and catastrophe in the same presidency, in the same man. Richard Nixon sits at 33rd, surprisingly high to many people, because historians separate Watergate from policy. Nixon opened China. He created the EPA. He ended the draft. He negotiated SALT I. These are genuinely significant achievements. Then he orchestrated a criminal conspiracy against his own democracy and became the only president in American history to resign in disgrace. One of the most capable presidents, one of the most corrupt. Both true. It is March 4th, 1933. You are standing in Washington, D.C., and 1 in 4 Americans does not have a job. Banks are failing at a rate of 40 per day. The stock market has lost 90% of its value. In the Midwest, farmers are burning their own crops because prices have collapsed so completely that selling costs more than growing. People are genuinely wondering, out loud, in newspapers, whether American democracy will survive. Franklin Delano Roosevelt is about to be inaugurated. Historians rank FDR second only to Lincoln among all 46 presidents, and the case is overwhelming. In his first 100 days, Roosevelt signed 15 major pieces of legislation, stabilized the banking system, created the FDIC, established the SEC, launched the CCC, which employed 3 million men within 3 months, and fundamentally redefined what the American government owed its citizens. Then he won World War II. FDR won 4 presidential elections. No one else has won 4. He served 4,422 days as president, more than any other human being in American history, and a record that can never be broken because the 22nd Amendment was passed specifically in response to him. He died in office on April 12, 1945, 83 days into his 4th term, 25 days before Germany surrendered. He did not live to see the victory he made possible. Above FDR, at number 1 in virtually every survey, by a margin that is not close, sits Abraham Lincoln.
Lincoln took office on March 4, 1861, with the country already dissolving. He had won the presidency with 39.8% of the popular vote, the lowest winning percentage in American history. Half the country considered him illegitimate before he had done a single thing. 7 states had already seceded. His own generals doubted him. What Lincoln did between 1861 and 1865 is almost impossible to fully compress. He held the Union together through 4 years of the bloodiest war ever fought on American soil. 620,000 dead, more than every other American war combined. He issued the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1, 1863, knowing it would cost him politically. He chose Ulysses Grant when everyone told him Grant was a drunk, because Grant won battles. He delivered the second inaugural address on March 4, 1865, one of the greatest speeches in the English language, calling for malice toward none. 41 days later, John Wilkes Booth shot him in the back of the head at Ford's Theater. He died the next morning, April 15, 1865. He was 56 years old. Lincoln never got to rebuild the country he had saved. That job fell to Andrew Johnson. You already know how that turned out. For those keeping score, here is where the historians consistently place the full tiers. The greatest, Lincoln at 1, FDR at 2, Washington at 3, Theodore Roosevelt at 4, and Eisenhower, who quietly desegregated the military, built the interstate highway system, and kept America out of war for 8 years, cracking the top 5 in every modern survey. The near great, Harry Truman at 6, despite dropping 2 atomic bombs and being so unpopular when he left office in 1953 that his approval rating was 22%. History revised its verdict dramatically on Truman. His Marshall Plan rebuilt Europe. His Berlin airlift stared down Stalin without firing a shot. Time vindicated him completely. The controversial middle, Wilson at 11, despite being a racist who resegregated the federal government, JFK at 14, high for a man who served less than 3 years, Obama at 12 in recent surveys, Clinton at 19. The failures, Harding, Pierce, Andrew Johnson, and Buchanan, at the very bottom, alone, where they will remain. Here is what this list ultimately tells us. The greatest presidents, Lincoln, FDR, Washington, were all men who faced moments when the entire American experiment genuinely could have ended, when it was not inevitable that the United States would survive. And they chose, at enormous personal cost, to hold it together. The worst presidents, Buchanan, Andrew Johnson, Pierce, faced those same moments and chose themselves, chose comfort, chose inaction, chose the path that left them sleep at night while history burned around them. The office does not make the man. The crisis does. And the only thing history asks, the only thing it ever asks, is what did you do when it mattered most? That question does not only apply to presidents. If this video made you see American history differently, drop the name of the president who surprised you most in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you want more history that your textbook deliberately left out, subscribe. We are just getting started.